Key elements of an SMS, Part 2, Investigation and Analysis. Thank you for joining us today for the second in a series of webinars from GALE, promoting the key elements and areas of consideration that an organization needs to address in order to achieve an effective, efficient and proactive safety management system. We have already discussed in the first webinar the background of safety reporting and how to submit reports into a centralized incident management system. Through systems like QPulse, any type of report can be submitted. An organization that has a successful SMS will have a proactive reporting culture, encouraging any type of incident to be reported, not just the ones that contribute to regulatory control. The review process then determines if the report is valid and what the next steps are, such as take no further action, is further information required, or do you progress to investigation? Today we will look at the process of investigation and how workflows and defined actions ensure that during the investigation phase all areas of the incident are reviewed. An investigation will review whether through risk assessment changes are required to reduce the level of risk in the future. The investigation will also identify whether there is a process change required, review on documents and possibly further training requirements. A thorough investigation will help organizations react to facts rather than assumptions, so that informed decisions can be made without fear of the event either reoccurring again or, even worse, a more severe outcome in the future. The more report types that are captured will create the basis for an effective analysis tool. Getting information into a reporting system is all well and good, however, the key is what to do with it. Creating reports with mandatory fields will produce the information you need to analyze. This can be in the form of statistical, trending, comparative or behavioral analysis. Not only the counts of the actual reports, but you can assign costs to determine the real impact and where exactly the cost is being generated. In addition, key data can be injected into the system to provide normalized data, for example per passenger million miles or per million flight miles and so on. Data can also be made available through corporate BI tools. We've already shown you that you can report data into QPulse from various channels, including directly, via the web, paper-based forms or on the iPad. It is also possible to generate a report directly from a flight data monitoring operation or occurrence. This can be matched either to a related event that has been reported, for example by the pilot, or alternatively treated as a one-off event that requires investigation. The more ways to report and the easier they are to complete and submit will encourage your organization to report, not just on the mandatory and regulated requirements, but also on any other areas of the business. Each report type will have different levels of severity and also different areas of responsibility. Ownership and delegation of a report type is key to ensure that the relevant department and person are identified to own the investigation from start to conclusion. Every report will also have different workflow with different stages to complete. A simple workflow could be immediate corrective action, witness statement, investigation, preventative action, follow-up and closure. However, more complex workflows will follow whatever is appropriate to determine a root cause and risk assess the ongoing investigation with the aim of reducing the existing risk to an acceptable level. The workflow should manage all actions, findings, non-conformances and recommendations through to conclusion. The aim is to learn from the experience with the intent of either, at best, eliminating it happening again, or ensure that you have a complete understanding of why it happened and ensure that you can manage controls to minimize any impact of it happening again in the future. The injury report that we submitted in the first webinar now needs to be investigated. We need to understand why it happened. Were all the necessary precautions in place to try and stop it happening? Was the person injured at fault or was it someone else's fault? Was there a malfunction of the machinery? Could it have been prevented? Were all the correct health and safety processes followed? There are so many things that need to be considered in just a simple injury report. The list view shows the various investigations that are currently in progress. Let's open the investigation on the personal injury report that was submitted. The investigation report is linked to the personal injury report that was submitted for the cut experienced by the employee who slipped at the gate. The owner of the incident has been automatically assigned. The target date to close the investigation has automatically been applied, based on 1 month since it was opened. This can be changed based on the report type that is being investigated. The first consideration that must be made is classification. Classifications are used to categorize incidents. Classifying the incident helps you search quickly in the future, but also helps in performing accurate analysis to identify trends and areas of improvement. Each classification can be broken down into any number of subclassifications. The standard injury classifications are defined together with the relevant severity, so contact with machinery, slip, trip, and fall at same level have been selected with a severity assigned as 3 days. 3 days is the standard if not considered fatal and is non-fatal and not major. If the category is not accurate, then this can be amended by selecting the correct one. The next step is to risk assess the situation. Risk assessment is done to understand the true risk that was involved in the incident. The initial risk assessment has been deemed in this injury as being low. In QPOS, you have more than one you can have more than one risk assessment table. In this case, we're using the 4x4. Assessment on the likelihood of it happening again and the subsequent consequence of it happening again, resulting in the level of the risk and the action required. The risk table is converted from an organization's risk matrix. You can see the other risk associated with the first finding is that the action has been taken at the investigation stage. There are 4 stages in this workflow. This is only an example. There could be multiple stages. This process is completely configurable to your own processes. The ownership of the stage can be defined, likewise the actions that need to be followed and team members who need to be aware of the investigation. Each action will have target dates that will need to be followed, and if they are not met, they can be reminded to the action holder and if necessary escalated to their manager if they are not meeting the deadlines. The action holder will need to enter in their responses when they have completed their task. If they have findings or alternatively wish to raise a CAPA, a corrective action, preventative action, to instigate a change to a process, this can be done from here. At this stage, a new risk assessment has been made as well as classification if necessary. So let's finish the last action of the investigation. So once the information has been completed on the finding, you enter in the data, the detailed response, and then close it. There are 4 stages in this workflow. The first stage shows green, meaning the stage is open and being worked on. The other stages are in yellow, identifying that they cannot start until the investigation stage has been completed. Once the actions from the stage are complete, then the owner of the stage can close it, which will allow the other stages to be worked on. The other stages will be worked on, like the investigation, until completed. Each stage can be dependent on the previous, or in this case the rest of the workflow can be worked on even if the previous stage has not been completed. This is totally configurable and defined against your processes and procedures. Within the properties section you can add supporting evidence, add notes, and also apply costs to the investigation that can be associated with to a category with a value and subsequently analysed. So here we can assign a category of the injury report and the actual cost it incurred to the business. Once the investigation has been completed with all the stages reviewed and actions taken, then it can be closed. This investigation will form part of the analysis process to allow a review of what has happened and help predict what may happen in the future. It's all very well getting information into the system, but the key is what to do with it beyond that. In terms of reporting, all information is available for analysis. Every event is captured, allowing for statistical, trending, comparative and behavioural analysis. You can quickly identify those individuals in your organization that are adhering to processes and managing their actions and activities. Data can be made also available through corporate BI tools. It is also possible to inject data from other sources to provide industry normalized data, such as the number of flight miles, passengers and so forth. Reports that are viewed regularly can be created and also provided to other people within your organization, so time is saved in trying to create the same report over and over again. The success of data analysis is the ability to extract reported data and convert it into any format that your organization uses in order to make the most of what has happened, what has been learned, and what can be improved. Let's have a look at how all the data that has been reported can be used in both day-to-day basis and also for assisting in decision making. We go to the analysis module and select incident analysis. This automatically opens a screen displaying in a bar graph all the types of incidents that have been reported, so it shows everything in one screen so that you can then focus on the areas that are important to you. The data is shown as a count option. However, if you have created fields, you can also review it against specific costs associated with the reported incident, as well as anything else that you've predefined. If we select total costs, for example, we can then drill down to the data shown into a more manageable sections. Rather than having to go back into the incident module to look at the specific records, you can quickly access those directly through the analysis module. Let's go back to the front screen and look at the personal injury report that we have been working on. There is only one record that has been reported, so it's easy to find. We can search on any field type within the incident itself, so let's look at the classification type. Remember, we associated the incident to 3 types of classification which are clearly shown. If there was more than one incident type, then this will also be shown, but in the example it's just for the one. Again, we can drill down and view the record which shows only the one incident reported. At any point, reports that are generated can be output into various other methods. Here the print preview shows how the data will be shown. This is totally configurable to your requirements, and you can add a title and chart axis, for example. You also have the option at this stage of emailing the report as it is, or alternatively you can export the report into other document types, for example PDF, HTML, text and CSV and so forth. If you regularly have to create reports, you can quickly create folders that allow you to store report types. This allows you to, at a click of a button, create a report that has the most accurate and relevant information at source, versus you having to extract and manage it outside of QPulse. You have the ability to have access to the report from your Launchpad, and also can share it with other people, so that they too at any time can look at the relevant information that is of interest to them. The look and feel of your reports is specific to your requirements. The default is a bar chart. However, there are other looks that can be selected, for example 2D, 3D, bar charts, pie, stacked bars and so forth. A useful tool that can give you immediate oversight on how you are doing compared to industry standards is to introduce industry data into your reports. In this example, I've created a monthly report showing number of flights that can determine the number of incidents raised per the number of flights. So other graph styles you can see include the pie chart, which shows the legend on the right and also the breakdown in percentage. The key to analyzing data is the results that you get are only as good and relevant as the data that is submitted in the first place. Reporting is only useful when it leads to analysis of the data captured. Without that, it is just reporting for the sake of it, with no clear purpose, and is unlikely to encourage employees to report on incidents. In analysing the results of reporting, an organisation is able to make improvements in their working practices to avoid the same event from occurring again. The analysis leads to a culture of learning and sharing throughout the organisation. Therefore, reporting and investigation and analysis go hand in hand in the management of safety. The clues are there to be discovered. Anything that happens can always be found if you look hard enough. Through investigating and understanding why something happened, you will then be able to correct it, learn from it, and share it. These events over time will create an in-depth analysis of your organisation that will highlight what is working well and areas that need to be changed and improved. I hope that today's insight into investigation and analysis has prompted you to think and possibly question your own current safety management system practices. If you'd like to know more about how Gale's solutions can help you in promoting a successful SMS within your organisation, we will be more than happy to discuss this with you. Any questions and follow-ups can be made by contacting us either through the Gale website or through email directly. Any questions? You can also follow us on the LinkedIn group Aviation Safety and Quality Info Exchange and through Twitter. The next webinar will be on auditing and is scheduled for the 27th of August. We look forward to seeing you then. Thank you.